Hello and welcome back to yet another intriguingly decadent episode of Smart Talks by Lincoln University of Business Management. My name is Aman Iqbal Ibrahim and I'm your host for today's episode. In a world categorized by rapid technological advancements, changing economic landscapes and evolving career opportunities, the entrepreneurial mindset has become more and more important than ever. Today we'll explore the remarkable potential of young entrepreneurs and why fostering their creativity and innovation is essential for our global community. With this episode, the need for youth entrepreneurship with our absolute inspiration of a guest, Ms. Jenin Al Shalabi. Student, speaker, writer, entrepreneur, the list goes on. Jenin is a passionate force to be reckoned with who works tirelessly to uncover legal vagaries around gender equality and feminist issues, particularly where young women are concerned. Jenin believes that understanding underlying legal frameworks is essential to igniting change in our societal hegemonies. She was a speaker at the UN's SDG 5 summit, where she outlined the cultural changes needed to achieve gender equality. A true trailblazer and inspiration. Welcome to the podcast, Jenin.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an exciting opportunity.
We would love to have you here, and we're really excited about the rest of the episode that we have for you.
Oh, absolutely. And it's such an important topic of discussion, so I'm so excited to jump right into it.
Absolutely. Before we jump in, thank you so much for being here today again. And how are you doing? How are you feeling today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. All right, let's jump right into the crux of the matter, shall we? Why, in your opinion, should there be a focus on fostering entrepreneurship among the youth today?
That's an excellent first question. So here's the thing. We are going through an extraordinary time because we are facing a range of issues. And I think, climate change is definitely at the top of the list. And we're going through this transition period. And so we need young entrepreneurs because the issues that we're going through currently, and I mean the likes of climate change, are impacting them disproportionately. This is the world that we are getting handed down. These are the issues that we're inheriting, and we need to be at the forefront of the solutions, right? And second of all, because we need to be there to bridge the gap. You've got the older generation who have incredible priceless knowledge, who've seen it all before, who've done it all before, and then you have the younger generation who are digital natives and know how to navigate a digital landscape. And somebody needs to be there to bridge that gap, right? And so us as the younger generation, we have to reach out. We have to make use of the resources around us, of the knowledge of the older generation, to take all of that knowledge and translate it with our technical ability to be able to move forward. So in my opinion, that's why we need youth entrepreneurship now more than we ever have before.
Absolutely. And it's very refreshing to hear this paradigm where usually what we hear is the older generation is blaming the younger generation for everything that's wrong and vice versa. You know, we say, oh, you messed the world up for us and you're giving it to us like this. We have to work. But it's very refreshing to hear that the older generation, again, like you said, a treasure trove of wisdom, and us, we have the resources necessary to start making the change. So it's necessary to bridge the gap. Amazingly said. Perfect. And how would youth entrepreneurship contribute to community growth and innovation as such with respect to, like you said, us being the trailblazers or the digital natives who can bring about change?
Right. So I think with this question, whenever, I ask somebody about, or I ask a young entrepreneur like myself about their role models, they'll always say, oh, well, my mom, my dad, my friend, somebody in their social sphere. And obviously I don't know these people. Mm-hmm. So as a young entrepreneur, I need role models that are my age, that are in school, that are of my generation and tackling the issues that I see in my world. And I need these really visible role models because it always seems so absurd and impossible until you see somebody else do it and you see someone else make those advances. And so around this one person, this one, young entrepreneur, they're going to build this circle of other people who admire them, who rally behind their cause, and it just ripples out really. So I think that's why it's important.
That's true. And touching on the point that you said, always needing someone to look up to or a certain person who you can relate to an aspect that, okay, they can do it, so can I.
Yeah.
Right? Is there someone who, for you in your life, you consider someone that you see as a role model that you're trying to become like or you're trying to surpass?
I'm actually going to cite one of my old bosses for this. So I did a summer of work with Bolt Consultancy, who do hackathons and accelerators, and they're just incredible in the innovation in the tech space. And my role model there is Aya Saldat. If you don't know her, go look her up on LinkedIn. She's fabulous. And the reason why she is my role model, and this kind of links to a lot of what I want to talk to you about today, is because she was such a people person. She was so dynamic. She knew how to kind of She knew how to look at a person and see the best in them, see where their skills lie. Not everyone is like me. Not everyone's like you. And that's what a good entrepreneur is able to do. They're able to pick out where this person fits into their plan, where this person's value is. And I think she did that so gracefully and so swiftly. And that's why I really admire her and all that she's built.
Absolutely. She sounds like an amazingly inspirational person. And so touching on the fact that you just said, when it comes to being an entrepreneur, you need to be able to know what certain, the X factor you should see in your, not just employees, but in anyone that you interact with. And you being a successful entrepreneur, with Chatterbox and everything, what would you say is a one-step shortcut to making sure that you can identify that X factor in a particular individual that comes up to you?
Well, I think first and foremost, network with everybody you know. And I think one mistake that a lot of people make when networking is they say, okay, why would I network with this person who's in tech? That is so not my industry. And I was like that. I was like, it's not my industry. It's not my thing. I don't need to network with people from there, but you need to network with people from all walks of life. If you are a young entrepreneur, you need to go into this knowing that you know nothing. I still don't know as much as I think that I know. And I honestly need to be open to learning from people who aren't in my industry, who aren't in my space. And I need to not pigeonhole myself too soon, because exposing yourself to a diverse range of people ensures that you're able to spot the moment that somebody has talent, the moment that someone can contribute to you and your cause. So that would be my primary advice there.
Exactly, and it's again, each point you say, it's more and more refreshing by the second. It's the concept of networking outside your particular area of expertise, because especially in the field of entrepreneurship, if you're starting, a company or an organization, the last thing you want is a group of completely like-minded, identical people.
Right.
You don't want people who will just be yes men or yes people. You want people from different backgrounds. As of course, the main example that we're given is back in school is about the Challenger disaster. We were told about how there were two different projects that were held simultaneously, where on one hand it was identical people, rocket scientists, amazingly skilled individuals, absolutely. Right. But for the other, they brought in everyone from, rocket scientists to farmers even, to discuss, potential challenges, how they can overcome them. And of course, history speaks for itself. So like you said, networking with a multitude of different professions, a multitude of different talents is extremely important. Absolutely. In an ever-developing world, the importance of community, mentorship, and network relationships in the field of entrepreneurship to support young people to start their independent businesses. From your experience, what do you think is the number one factor that today's youth need to start in the business world, other than networking, and I mean soft skills per se?
Well, I think here is one huge flaw with our school system today, and it doesn't matter what curriculum you're under, is that you're given a textbook and you're given a syllabus or a specification. You're given a really clear outline of you need to do X, Y, Z to be successful. In the entrepreneurship world, regardless of your age, there is no outline. So you need to be going above and beyond. I mean, I've been in professional spaces and people say, we're impressed by you. And I say, why? All I did was do my work and I spoke to some people, and what's there to be impressed by? And they say, well, usually when we have young people come in, they sit at their desk, they do the assignment, by the end of the week they hand it in, and we don't hear from them again. And that would be perfectly acceptable in a school setting. That's an A-star student in a school setting. But when you're in a professional setting, when you're in an entrepreneurship setting, you need to be going above and beyond. You need to be creating opportunities for yourself and taking initiative where other people don't see any initiative to be taken, right? So speaking to people, I know I already said networking, so excuse me for being redundant, but speaking to people, seeing what value you can add, going to places where, people have not necessarily asked for you, but going up to people and saying, this is really cool. How can I contribute? How can I be of value here? What is there that I can add to this project? Or how can we reach a wider audience with this? So just realizing that there is no framework. You need to create your own, I think, is a really important soft skill in my book.
Absolutely. And that's amazing. The aspect that you said where the job doesn't end when the deliverables are met.
Not at all.
Absolutely. It's with TikTok and social media right now, there's the trend rising right now is quiet quitting, where it's very similar to malicious agreement or just following the instructions to a T. We see it even in movies. Like, you know what? I'm going to do exactly what you say and not a minute more on work. And what do you say about people who believe that quiet quitting or something like that is what is the way to go when it comes to working a 9 to 5?
Well, honestly, it goes without saying that you're limiting yourself, but you're also wasting your own time because if you don't feel passionately enough about an area to contribute to it actively, why even be there? Quit fully, quit. Do out loud quitting if that is a thing. That should be a term. Coin it and let's trademark it.
Absolutely.
But it just, you are setting the bar so low for yourself and you're limiting your potential by so much. And you're going to, even after you leave that position, you're going to wonder, what if I had gone up and spoken to that person or contributed to that project? And it's just like, why do it? Especially as a young entrepreneur, there's such a need for the young generation's voice. There's such a gap to be bridged there. Why not take the opportunity?
Exactly. Absolutely. Because, as they say, when it comes to starting your own organization or any work that you do, you look at three factors, what are you good at, or what are your passions, and does it earn you money, and does it impact the world in a positive way? And I do you believe that asking yourself that question, regardless of whether you're an entrepreneur or an employee, asking yourself that question and then making an informed decision after that is important?
Oh, absolutely. Because ultimately you can have the highest paying position, you can have all the power, but at your funeral, after you're gone, no one's going to say, well, he made 6 figures a year. Good for him. They're going to talk about the impact that you had, the people whose lives you've changed, or not even let's stray away from changing lives. You don't have to be Malala to have impact. It's all about how you make people feel and how you present yourself to them and how you take on board their ideas and their insights to make them feel like they're part of your team and to make them feel listened to. So it's going to be all about how you made people feel at the end of the day. And I mean, money's important, don't get me wrong, but that comes first in my book.
All right, perfect. And let's just take an explorative insight about the skills and the mindset that's necessary to make young people more not just employable, but well suited for entrepreneurship as well, in your point of view.
Well, I think the one thing is you need to be able to jump into things sloppily. And what I mean by that is, and I think I see this with girls far more often than I see it with guys, and I don't mean to gender anyone here, but with us as women, as girls, we always look at a task and we say, okay, I want to do that task, but I need to do it perfectly. So I'm going to do all this research before I jump into whatever venture it is. And you end up getting so immersed in research that you don't actually go ahead and do it. I think amongst men and amongst boys, there's much more, a spirit of much more like, you know what, I'm going to do it and I'm going to learn along the way. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. So jump into things without knowing everything there is to know about that one thing. Just be able to take risks like that. You don't have to be meticulous and perfect. That is the whole point of this venture. And if you keep waiting for the perfect time or the perfect opportunity, it's never going to come. You have to create those for yourself. So that's a number one skill in my book.
Absolutely. The entire aspect of, like you said, starting sloppily. I think it was Richard Branson who said, whenever an opportunity comes knocking, say yes first and then figure out how you're going to do the job.
Exactly.
And because especially, with the rise of the gig economy and everything, it's opportunities are a dime a dozen. And you need to make sure that, but at the same time, the right opportunity is incredibly rare. So you need to make sure that you take up every opportunity you get to see whether it's matching your skill, it's matching your prowess, and seeing if it works. Like you said, not waiting around for the right time or the right moment. Do you believe that there is such a thing as a right time or a right moment?
Absolutely not. It's whenever you decide this is the right time. I mean, I started Chatterbox in my bedroom on a random Tuesday because I thought, I really enjoy public speaking. I enjoy debate. I think I have a talent for it, and I'd love to pass on that talent to other people. I didn't say, well, let me wait till I'm, the world's first and foremost debate champion for me to start this. I'm not. But I think I have some value that I can give on to other people, and I just said, let's go for it. And it was sloppy and it was imperfect, and there were 1,000,001 things that didn't work at the start, but I'm glad that I went through all that because now I know what does work, and the people around me are willing to help me make it work. So absolutely.
Talking about Chatterbox, could you enlighten our listeners a bit more about Chatterbox, what you do, and the amazing work that's being done?
Absolutely. So Chatterbox is this global organization that mentors dozens of young women around the world in debate and public speaking. And I really started this initiative because I see it so often where people have the world's most brilliant novel idea, and they have the tenacity and the hard work to make it happen. And they think those two things equal success. I'm so sorry to break it to you, but it doesn't. Right? If you are not able to communicate your idea in a way that resonates with people, that excites people, that aligns with their values and their mission. It was Simon Sinek who said, it's all about your why. Why are you doing this? And what can you give other people, right? So if you can't communicate your idea like that, even the most brilliant ideas are prone to just withering away and dying. So I wanted to teach a whole generation of young women how to communicate effectively, how to communicate confidently, and how to get their points across. So that's the point behind Chatterbox.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. And how old were you when you started Chatterbox?
I was 16.
Amazing. And so over the past few years, how has it been progressing, and where do you envision it reaching in, let's say, 2030?
Okay, so when we started, we had a really small group of girls, and now we've got girls all over the world that we mentor, that we're in touch with, and it's expanded far beyond debate. I mean, academic mentorship, career mentorship, connecting them with mentors that I know, that I've interacted with, and saying, hey, you have this skill set that you're looking to expand, I can connect you with this person. And in the future, I envision our reach going fully global. Like, I mean, every single continent you can possibly imagine. And I want to create a space where we are able to provide whatever resources necessary for young women to achieve whatever they set out to achieve. And I want to show people that there's really no feat too small, and you don't have to have, all the knowledge in the world. All you really need is an idea and a network, and you're good to go.
Absolutely, perfect. With your permission, let's move into a bit more of a not widely spoken about topic, but it may be considered controversial, but it's more about the open dialogue of it all. You are an amazing activist when it comes to feminist issues, and in the world we are in right now, it's not really that great, when it comes to speaking about feminist issues. It's people get a target on their back,
right?
So the entire concept of being an ally for the feminist issue,
right,
for males. What's your take on it? Do you believe that the entire concept of cancel culture around the entire thing is something that should be enforced?
Right. So I think the first really big misconception is that feminism is for women only. It's not. We need male allies. I mean, if there's one thing I want you to take away from this whole entire talk, it's that nobody in the entrepreneur space, in the social activism space, or anywhere else does anything great or anything worthwhile alone. So we absolutely need male allies. In regards to cancel culture, I think it's incredibly dangerous because I think it assumes that people can't evolve, people can't learn, people can't grow. And I think it almost, sometimes it's justified. Sometimes people do horrendous things, and I completely understand that. But I think it creates a culture where people are afraid to voice their opinions because they think, I'm going to just get cut out. I'm not going to. It creates a culture in which we're so excited to just remove people entirely. And I think sometimes we take such joy in doing it, and we need to eliminate that immediately because it's not conducive to what we are trying to do.
Absolutely. And very well said when it comes to the entire aspect of feminism, not just being women alone, but
right,
male allies helping in the cause. And okay, now moving back to the field of entrepreneurship as such. So during the pandemic, for a lot of people, a lot of businesses, they did suffer economically. But then at the same time, there was a silver lining where many companies found it efficient even to move into a more remote or hybrid workspace. So how do you believe that will it either hinder or support the youth of today when it comes to entrepreneurship?
Well, I think it will absolutely support them because Chatterbox was built on this kind of remote hybrid model. And if there's one thing that the pandemic, one positive impact that it did have, is it showed no matter where you are, you can make an impact. I think there's a huge misconception among youth of like, if I'm not in an office setting, if I'm not in the right environment, or if I don't know the right people, then I can't start anything. That's absolutely not true. And I think the power of online spaces is not to be underestimated. I know there's a whole other side to the debate that says, well, if people don't come in, they're not engaged, and da-da-da. I completely disagree. I mean, I've seen in-person teams where people are closed off, or don't talk to each other, are not engaged with one another. And I've seen remote spaces where it's just so vibrant and thriving. So it's not a question of remote versus in person. It's a question of if your team's active in person, they're going to be active in a remote workspace, and vice versa, right? So I think it's an incredible kind of addition to the entrepreneurship space to have those hybrid models.
Absolutely. And touching on what you said when it came to it in an in-person model, there are situations where you'll see certain members of the team would be closed off,
right,
because it might be that they prefer a more private environment for them to flourish.
Yeah.
And touching on that, right now there is of course a dichotomy, which is age-old dichotomy. Should I drop everything and pursue my passions or my dreams, regardless of what they may be, or do I need grades, right? And at the same time, when you look at companies that are recruiting, there's a difference. Some companies, they say, okay, let's forget your transferable skills for now. We can always train you on your transferable skills. Let's look at your grades. But on the other hand, there are companies that say, both. We want both, right? We want well-rounded individuals. And then, of course, there's the third group, which I think it's a trichotomy then, right? A third group which goes, no, you know what? Your grades don't matter as long as you show us, work experience and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So let's say if you were hiring someone for Chatterbox, right? What would you be looking at?
Grades do not matter whatsoever to me, because grades, what I know from your grades is that you're able to take information in a textbook on a sheet of paper, memorize it, and regurgitate it in an exam. And I know, some curriculums are beyond that, but at its fundamental level, that's what it is, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't care if you have the grades, because I'm not looking for someone who can regurgitate what I've told them or what's already been done. I'm looking for somebody who can absolutely just throw everything out the window and come to me with a brand new solution of how they want to do this thing or how they can streamline this process. So what matters to me most is it's not even work experience either. Like, that's not a huge prerequisite for me. I'm happy if you have experience, but if you don't and you're just able to show me that you're able to think critically, that you're able to engage with different types of people and rally people behind our cause, that's fine by me. I mean, in none of my interviews has anyone ever asked me, oh, like, your grades are this, and this. Tell me about that. Because I have A's, but it doesn't add anything to my profile. Like, it's just kind of another badge of honor for you to sit on the shelf and to be polished. But I think in my world, it's absolutely obsolete.
So would you agree in saying that you not work experience, the personality is prime, and then things like a work experience and A's are just assets on the side for which enhances the personality aspect of it all. So at the end of the day, it's who you are, which is more important than what's on your mark list for you.
You put it perfectly there. If you have a personality where I see that, okay, this person will be open to taking on my ideas, I can easily train them in whatever I need them to do, they can easily interact with people and engage with people, the rest is just kind of like a nice cherry on the top, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah. Perfect. Let's speak about, of course, this is the topic it's going to be the topic of the next decade as well, AI,
yes.
Right? And how it's everywhere. At this point, we've gotten to a point where we can't tell the difference between a human-written article and a ChatGPT article.
Right.
I've tried. I've lost marks. But yeah, end of the day, when it comes to youth entrepreneurship, what role, if any, would you consider letting AI play in youth entrepreneurship and the success of youth entrepreneurship?
Well, I think AI can definitely help fill in those technical gaps, because as youth, we obviously still have a lot to learn. But it just goes to show how obsolete kind of grades are, because, look, ChatGPT can regurgitate any textbook, any piece of information better than you or I can. So it just goes to show that those technical skill gaps can be filled in, and they can be filled in really quickly by AI. What AI can't do yet, and I'm open to being corrected in the comments of this podcast if you think otherwise, but I don't think it can tap into people's emotions yet. It's artificial intelligence. It's not artificial emotion just yet, right? So that's where we need youth entrepreneurs to kind of take the expertise that AI has and to take those technical skills and model them in a way that evokes emotion and kind of interacts with people's values, wants, needs, etc. But AI is definitely super useful, and I think any youth entrepreneur that's not using AI is falling behind. Just in terms of streamlining admin, different kind of tedious processes, I think youth entrepreneurs are super, super open to taking AI on board. And yeah.
Amazing. So you believe that, let's say, within a year or two, or within a few years down the line, it will become a necessity for companies to use AI if they do not want to fall behind?
Oh, absolutely. You have to adapt or die. And that sounds like a really extreme motto.
Very Darwinian, just, yeah.
Absolutely. But it's the way of the world. Everybody's using it. And I don't even think that, in terms of academic research, for research at school, I use AI, not to write my research, but to help me sift through articles. And I'm open with my teachers about that. I say, I'm using this, and I'm doing this, and this is a software I've used, because I'd be an idiot not to. It's just, It's become ingrained into our workforce.
It's like our parents used to say, instead of eating like this, you want to eat like this. You're using AI, you don't even need to eat like this. Someone gives you the fork itself. Yeah. So it's AI is going to be an immensely, not just important, but vital component of a successful youth venture as such.
I couldn't say it better myself.
Just one question with regards to, we see a lot about teams being formed. Yes, and I'm not talking about group projects. I was talking about entrepreneurial ventures,
Right.
where we're best friends. We've been best friends since kindergarten, and we have an idea. We're gonna make sure we get in there, which is another big question which people regret later on. Do you believe that bringing your best friends aboard just because they're your best friends, or just because you guys had the idea together, amazing, but you've never worked together, and this is your main this is your magnum opus, and you're bringing best friends aboard into the team? Do you think that's a really efficient way to do things?
That is the $1 million question right there. So look, my co-founder is actually my best friend, CJ.
Amazing.
However, it worked out really synergetically for us because, yes, she is my best friend, but she's also somebody who matches my workflow, who knows everything that I don't have, she has. So it's a yin and yang kind of thing. She has incredible attention to detail. I have all these ideas, and I'm like, I want to do this, and I want to do this. And she's kind of like, okay, so let's look at the practicalities. And I'm like, okay, fine. But I haven't brought on just anyone and everyone who I'm friends with to work with me on this, because I acknowledge that there's a time for friendship and there's a time for entrepreneurship. And even with CJ, we have those boundaries where I'm like, you know what? Friend time is over. I need 15 minutes of work time. Let's talk about these tasks and who's doing them and what the deliverables are going to look like, right? And so it does take an element of compartmentalization that doesn't work with all friendships. So it's really a matter of one size doesn't fit all. You have to adapt and look at the person themselves and kind of evaluate your relationship. And if it works, it works. But if it doesn't, you really don't want to get things meddled. You don't want to get your wires crossed, and you don't want to kind of end friendships or entrepreneurial ventures in that messy kind of way.
Absolutely. And building on that, you've said, of course, if it doesn't feel like it's going to work, it's probably not a good idea to try and,
Right.
milk the cow when it comes to that. So with respect to that, being able to say no, especially because, if we're trying to be a youth entrepreneur, there's a lot of support systems that we'll be depending on, our family, our friends, our teachers, even our mentors. So with respect to saying no, not just for favors or something, but like you said, a friend says, I want to join, I want a piece of the pie. How would you go about saying no to someone who is, it's a bit of a conflict of interest, but you want to say no? What would you do as such?
I used to struggle with this so much because I'm such a people pleaser and I want everyone to feel welcome and included in my space. But ultimately, if you can't say a blunt no to them and they don't accept it outright, they're not your friend. If you're going to get butthurt by that, it's nothing, and I make it very clear, it's nothing personal. It's just in terms of the dynamics that we have in place, I don't think they'd necessarily be the most conducive to those dynamics. And it's not a matter of it wouldn't work for me. I know it also, in the long term, would harm them. So I'm saying no for both of our benefits. And if they can't accept that, then you really need to question whether they're the kind of person that's going to be on your journey to success. It's going to support you every step of the way. And if not, then it does come down to that tough decision of just cutting them off.
Very true.
Yeah.
Before we move on, it's just any final message and to our listeners, and of course, your profile speaks for itself. It seems like you have 30 hours in a day. What do you feel? Do you feel like your friends or your family are a main reason as to how you're able to compartmentalize and prioritize certain things and make sure that you're able to get the job done without having to go overboard or feel burnt out?
I honestly have to credit my support system 110% with this. No one accomplishes anything great alone. No man is an island. So have those support systems, have those networks of people who you can trust with tasks. And honestly, I think at the end of the day, like Simon Sinek says, it all starts with why. And my why is so strong that even on days where I don't want to get out of bed, I don't want to even look at my emails, I am happy to do it because I know ultimately that in 10 years, I'm going to look back and say, wow, that was incredible that I managed to do that and I managed to build that. And I interact with the people who my organization serves and I look at the joy on their faces and I'm like, wow, this is real and it's impacting people and it fills me with joy. It really, really does.
Perfect. Perfect. Any final message to our listeners before we wrap up?
Yes, there is one surefire way to ensure that you will fail in the entrepreneurship space, and that is by not starting. Never underestimate the extent to which the world needs you and your ideas. Do things sloppily. Don't do things in the most perfect, meticulous way. Just do it. Are Nike going to sue us for that?
No, I hope not. Come on. We're trying to do some good work here, Nike. Help us out.
Yeah.
Right? And there you have it. In a world where ideas are a dime a dozen, we need to learn to stand out in the crowd. The world is gearing up for a new industrial revolution. And I believe after our conversation today, Jenin, our listeners can assuredly begin their journey to being ahead of the curve.
Absolutely.
It's comforting to know that our generation will by all means set a new benchmark when it comes to the field of entrepreneurship and global change making. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
I hope you had a good time.
And wonderful time.
Absolutely. It was amazingly
highlight
insightful.
of my week.
Oh, thank you. Okay, my ego is set high for the rest of the week now. All right. To our listeners, if you'd like to share your own experiences or ask questions, feel free to reach out to us on LUBM Middle East on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Yep, absolutely. And we can continue the conversation online. Until next time, I've been Amanik Bal Ibrahim. Keep learning with Smart Talks, powered by Lincoln University of Business Management. Thank you, and have a great day ahead.